Good afternoon. I'm Geri Waksler, a candidate for Charlotte County School Board District 1. I've lived in Charlotte County since 1984. I'm an attorney by training. I have managed 2 local law firms and the managing partner of 2 local law firms. And for over 30 years, my husband and I owned and operated Morton's Ace Hardware here in town. I have 2 boys who graduated from Charlotte County Public Schools. She likes Morton's Ace Hardware, probably off guard. I have 2 boys who graduated from Charlotte County Public Schools. I am running for school board. I have 4 main things that I would hope to accomplish initially if I'm elected. The first would be to bring an independent efficiency study to our schools. We need to have a separate set of eyes look at the processes and operations of the school district to see if they can do things better with the money that they have. I think we're doing a good job, but I think there's always efficiencies to be found. Sarasota County did a similar study in 2012, and they have saved tens of millions of dollars since implementing the results of that study. I would like to use the savings that Charlotte County would get from that study to increase our teacher salaries. We pay less than every surrounding county in this area, Sarasota, Lee, and even DeSoto County, which is the poorest county in the state. We need to pay our starting salaries, we need to raise our starting salaries, pay our teachers more, we need to pay our highly qualified teachers more. What's happening now is we're hiring teachers, we are spending a lot of school district money to train those teachers, and when they become good, efficient, quality teachers, they're plucked by the surrounding communities. We've got to stop that from happening because it's very, very important. If we want to be the best school district, we've got to have the best teachers. My third priority would be to bring more local control to our school districts. I'm a graduate of Leadership Florida. That gives me a built-in network of colleagues from across the state who are all very involved in their community and very concerned about education in the state. I would like to create a grassroots campaign to lobby our legislature to give local school districts more control. Many people don't realize the legislature is who sets your millage rate, tells us how much the school district can assess. The legislature says, now that we've given you this sum of money that we've established, you don't get to decide how you spend all of it. There's something called categoricals, and they say you will spend this much on capital improvements. You will spend this much on exceptional student education. You will spend this much on instructional materials. Whether you need to or not, it's one size fits all across the state. We need to have more local control. The decisions about how your tax dollars are spent should be made by the people who live in the community, not by the people up in Tallahassee. And finally, I would like to create a stronger connection between our community and the school district. All the other large public institutions in our community have what are called citizens academies, they call them different things, where they invite the community in to see the various functions and operations in the school, to appreciate what it takes to run a county or run a city. We need to have the community appreciate what it takes to run a school district. The other thing that we don't do is have a formalized program for volunteering in the school district. We have a community filled with people with experience and education and talent, and who very generously give their time to a whole host of community organizations, but not the school district, and for only one reason: we don't ask them. I would like to change that if I'm elected to the school board. As you hear the 3 candidates for school board speak, one of the things that you'll notice is that we are talking about very similar things. Our priorities are fairly closely aligned. We agree on what the problems are in the school district and where the priorities need to be. So how do you as a voter choose? Let me tell you about how one gentleman I spoke with was going to choose. When I was collecting petitions to get on the ballot, I approached a gentleman who was in his early 60s and asked him if he would sign my petition. He very politely declined, explaining to me that he wanted to vote for a leader, and he did not believe that women were fit to lead. Not in business, not in the community, and most certainly not in government. But no offense. I told him there was none taken, as I very quickly pocketed the petition that had been surreptitiously signed by his daughter while he was explaining his position to her. Now, while I certainly don't agree that women are not fit to lead, I think the idea of looking at leadership when you choose who you're going to vote for is a good one. Your next school board member should have a history of leadership in the community. I have an undergraduate degree from Duke University, cum laude. I attended the University of Miami and obtained an MBA on scholarship as assistant to the dean of the school. I graduated in the top 10 of my law school class. As I indicated, I've been the managing partner of 2 law firms, and I ran with my husband Morton's Ace Hardware. As a newly minted MBA, all of 23 years old, I was hired by a California consulting firm to implement a productivity improvement program in 3 hospitals, including Fawcett Hospital. I had never worked in a hospital. I had never been a nurse. I had never been a technician. But I understood what the goals were of this program. And I understood what the best management practices were to get that program implemented and to achieve success. And so I worked with vice presidents and department directors to implement this program. And I must have done a pretty good job, because when the contract with the management consulting firms ended, Fawcett Community Hospital hired me on to continue to oversee that program, as well as to develop other programs for the hospital. I stayed with Fawcett until I went back to law school. Fast forward several years, I'm now a young mother in the community, and I am unhappy with the educational opportunities, the preschool educational opportunities for my kids. So, with 3 other mothers, I founded a preschool. I sat on that board for the first 7 years, grew that preschool from a preschool through 8th grade, from a storefront to a 10-acre campus. I sat on that board, as I indicated, for 7 years. The 4 mothers that started that preschool, none of them were educators. None of them had a background in education. And in the 7 years that I sat on the board, not a single board member came from an education background. Yet we were highly successful because we understood the goals, and we all had a background and understood how you implement and achieve goals. I was a board member of the Boys and Girls Club, a past president. When I joined that board, it was a failing organization. Day-to-day operations had been taken over by Sarasota County. I joined that board. We established a strategic plan. We hired an executive director, Lynn Dorland, who's still with them. We obtained a multi-million-dollar grant that allowed us to align our after-school programs with the curriculum of the Charlotte County School District. And we implemented our signature fundraiser, the baseball, because grant funding doesn't last forever. That board did not contain, other than the executive director, a single person who had served as a counselor or a member of the Boys and Girls Club. Leadership is the key to achieving goals. Your next school board member should have an organizational perspective and an operational perspective, because it is our job to set the mission and goals for the district, to establish a strategic plan, to hire a superintendent and establish goals, measurable goals, and hold that superintendent accountable to those goals. And most importantly, to establish and approve a budget that will provide the superintendent with the resources necessary to achieve those goals, primarily to teach our children. I admire teachers tremendously. I could not be a teacher. I don't have that skill set. That's not where my skills lie. But managing a classroom is not the same thing as managing a school district. Just as I had never been a nurse when I served on Fawcett, when I brought a productivity improvement program to Fawcett Hospital. I had never been a teacher when I founded and grew a school. I had never been an educator or a member of a Boys and Girls Club when I turned around as part of the board, the Boys and Girls Club. Your next school board member needs to have the bigger picture, the organizational management skills and the leadership to achieve the goals that they set. I am a candidate who has 20 years of experience serving on boards, from the Charlotte Academy School Board to the Boys and Girls Club Board to our local education board, or Local Education Foundation Board, which I have now served on for 8 years and counting. I understand what it takes to be a board member, and that it is different as a member of a board to achieve organizational goals. I know how to build consensus. I know how to lead a board, having been a leader of every board I've ever served on. I know how it's important sometimes to step back and not lead a board and let other people take the lead. I know how to break through impasse. I have been serving on education-related boards for 20 years. For 20 years, I have been getting things done in Charlotte County. I'm already implementing the efficiency study that I told you was my first priority. I'm chairing a group that has already interviewed 2 consulting firms, have brought members of that consulting firm to meet with our school superintendent, and we have the blessing of the board to implement that efficiency study at no cost to the school district. I already have my first funding commitment and have been working with other organizations in the community who are also interested in funding that study. I get things done. Your next school board member needs to have a meaningful history of leadership, because the reality is, it's one thing to have a plan, And it's something else altogether to have the ability to implement that plan. All of us have similar plans and goals for Charlotte County, but only one of us has 20 years of experience and a proven record of success in organizations. I'm Geri Waksler. I hope you vote for me on August 28th for Charlotte County School Board. Thank you.